Hey guys, quick little bonus episode coming out here. This one's not sponsored by anybody. I'm just kind of bored, so this is what I did. I've kind of contacted a few places that I've networked with that kind of know the music scene in their areas a little bit better than I might. As far as Eastern Iowa and Des Moines, and I'm still reaching out to a handful of other places. But I just wanted to let you guys know there are places out there you can hit up and say, hey, where can I play in your area? And some of these might be good places. Some of them might be great places to get a little bit of exposure. Radio shows, podcasts, other things that are doing stuff like what I'm doing here, but all around the state. So it might be worth checking out. So I really appreciate it. I'm going to call this episode 81. Even though it's a bonus episode, it's 81. It's a bonus episode. You know what? Appreciate you guys listening. So this is one just for all of you guys. Check it out. Maybe you can network with some people and book some shows across the state. And if anybody's got some other cool places they want me to network with, put us in touch. All right, here we go.
It's the Audible Farm podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Hey everybody, a little bonus episode for everyone while you're just sitting at home. I wanted to let everybody know, if you're listening to this episode and you've listened to any of the past episodes, that this is kind of a weird time, but all of the coolest stuff is happening. Go online, go onto Facebook, people, bands and all sorts of things are putting together these live streams for everybody and starting to finally figure out how to fully run their Facebook pages to the max. And some of them are getting their family to help out and their kids and their cousins and everything else. It's kind of a neat thing, we're going to go do Facebook Live here, 8:00 tonight or something. And that's, a band will say that and they'll go Facebook Live, but they don't have any way for you to tip them or anything like that. So what'll happen is you'll end up with somebody's daughter or something will end up setting up a PayPal or a Venmo account or maybe even a Cash App account or something for these people, so you can at least somehow find a way to give them money. And that's really neat. It's kind of cool to see all these people banding together and the community is kind of understanding of the fact that these people can't go places and play shows, so instead they're playing from their houses. And it's kind of funny, you'll see one musician or maybe a pair of them kind of team up and they won't go full band, and it's just kind of fun because you get to see these people isolated all by themselves, kind of dinking around doing their own things, and people helping out the people that don't have the gear to go Facebook Live well in any capacity. There's all sorts of people helping them out, setting them up with some really rudimentary but nice setups to help them to play shows. So, this episode, I didn't really know what to do. I kind of had a little bit of free time today, so I figured I'd record a little bonus episode and upload it for everybody. But, this episode really is nothing more than me just kind of saying, hey, if you're looking for something to do in the time off and you're not going to go Facebook Live or something, this might be a prime time to network a little bit. And I've done my best to network as much as possible while still, holding down a job and going to school and traveling all across the state and all that other nonsense. But as of late, I've contacted quite a few really cool, communities and things like that involve music and art and all sorts of stuff. And I just kind of wanted to point them out and let everybody know that they exist. If anybody in the Eastern Iowa area is looking for anything to do, I heavily suggest checking out Iowa Live Music. If you go to audiblefarm.com, every single one of these pages I'm going to mention today, there will be a link there. And I just want everybody to check it out. So Iowa Live Music not only has a website, but they've got a directory of all these places you can play in Eastern Iowa, as well as doing a very good job of updating shows and things like that, and sharing live streams. If you guys are looking for live streams to watch from bands across, all across Iowa, I would highly suggest checking out Iowa Live Music on Facebook. Otherwise, recently they started sharing the podcast as of the last couple months because Iowa Live Music just knows what's up. They share not just stuff from Eastern Iowa, so maybe if you buddy up with them a little bit, they could expand their reach. They're called Iowa Live Music. They're not called a small section of Eastern Iowa's live music. They're encompassing the whole state, so it might be a fun place to hit up some people to that just kind of find out who's running the show and how they can help you and how you could help them kind of do their thing. If nothing else, the directory on their website of places to play would be an insanely good start for any musician. How many places are on their directory? Well, let's see here. These are mostly Cedar Rapids area stuff, but I'm going to say 100. I'm not even kidding. I mean, the directory is all types of everything. It's not just places that you can play. I mean, it's all sorts of food and stuff like that. But you know what? Every place is really kind of open to live music these days. And I'm not saying one of these places will or will not allow live music, but a lot of them sound like places that might be pretty open to it. I've seen a couple of these places, people playing shows at them, and I know over there in the Cedar Rapids area, there's music all over the place. So it might be a good place to check out a nice little directory of things to do and something you can do while you're over there. Or places to hit up to maybe try to play a show. It'd be pretty cool, Otherwise, I've got some other links to other places on the audiblefarm.com website. Scroll down to the bottom. We've got a list of partners like the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. That's another great place. I got a link to their website. Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association is basically an association that's helping out a handful of musicians, artists, entertainers, and all sorts of things, sharing what they've got going on and setting up things for them to do around the community, as well as helping out at certain events. And I mean, they've got everything, literally everything. You can go to their shop. They've got pieces from artists. I think there might even be some Audible Farm stuff available in their shop. It's in Fort Dodge, Iowa. Anybody in northern Iowa, highly suggest you check that one out. It's going to be great. I'll try my best. Maybe I'll put some links to all these down below in the description section, so wherever you're listening, it'd be worth checking out. There were a couple of podcast networking sites that I found a little over a year ago that I kind of teamed up with, and they've grown and faltered, but otherwise it's Iowa Podcast Network and Podcast IA. If anybody's got a podcast, you want to network with some people, or at least, if nothing else, the websites still exist. You can go to the websites and find a nice directory of other podcasts around the state to listen to. So check that out. It's really cool. We'll get to some of these podcasts here in a bit. So I did meet a couple cool people at the podcast meetups that we did, and it's really neat. You kind of buddy up with them a little bit, and their shows kind of influence yours, and hopefully my show influences other people. We'll see. I don't know. Iowa Music Showcase, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the OGs, one of the hardest working Iowa network sites that's out there. I mean, you can go to they got a website, they got a Facebook page, they got all sorts of good stuff going on. They share music from across the state. They know what's going on if anybody knows what's going on. So check them out. I've seen them fire the website up a few times here and there. It's I'll tell you what, it's not easy work to run one of these sites. A lot of people have to network together, or quite honestly, pool some funds together in some fashion or another to pay somebody to run these, because it's not easy. It's not easy to run these things by yourself. It's not easy to run them even with a small team. It's not easy to run them. I'll tell you what, just doing one podcast a week, with this one being the only non-weekly podcast episode I'm going to put out, or at least the only one I have in about a year and a half. I'll tell you what, doing it once a week is tough. And meeting up with people once a week is tough. So I can just imagine that these people that are putting together these websites and posting all day long about music across the state, they're doing so much more than just what I'm doing, which is a once a week podcast. So hats off to Iowa Music Showcase and Iowa Live Music for doing what they've done over the years. Both of them, like I said, Iowa Music Showcase still does a little bit of stuff here and there. Iowa Live Music is still pretty active. I mean, they're posting every day. I see them sharing live streams nonstop during this little corona crisis we've got going on. So check them out. Like I said, if you're looking for live streams, if you want to share your live stream with somebody, maybe just tag them in it. Maybe they'll like it. Maybe they'll share it. I mean, I think they've even got a Facebook group for Iowa Live Music, which would be a great, another great resource to network with some people. Okay, so as far as that takes care of like our small list of partners that we've kind of talked with. I mean, there are a few other, I don't want to say stations and things like that, but I've done my fair share of attempting to talk to other radio shows, other podcasts, and things of that nature, and at least make everyone aware of the fact that these other ones exist. Because, I do realize that I'm not the only game in town. When I first started doing this, I kind of thought I was. I was like, oh man, this is the first podcast ever for music in Iowa. That couldn't be less true. If you want to like take it back in the day, there were college radio stations doing exactly what I'm doing, except playing music in the middle of it. And I mean, they did it with great levels of success all the way through the 2000s until the internet kind of destroyed, I guess, terrestrial radio, generally speaking. But a lot of these radio stations have found a way to turn their radio shows into podcasts and do a very good job of doing that. And a good example of that, first and foremost, I would like to say, would probably be I Hear I See. I Hear I See is a radio show that not only runs as a radio show, but you can listen to the podcast, as well as, if you're a member of their Patreon page, you can watch their Patreon channel, which has videos that they set up. I mean, they'll bring in people and they'll interview them and they'll talk to them. But it's much more than that. These musicians, a lot of times, have never met each other. They'll throw them all on stage together and say, hey, make music. And it's really neat. I mean, how many times do you get the opportunity to not only meet somebody new, but make music with them, almost on the spot, without any practice beforehand? It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So I highly suggest checking that out. I did a podcast not terribly long ago with Justin Comer. So check that one out. He hosts I Hear I See. That's a great show. It's obviously in Iowa City. Yeah, the I Hear I See portion of it. I See Iowa City. So as far as Eastern Iowa, you got Iowa Live Music and I Hear I See. There's two great resources for people to network with other musicians, find new places to play, all sorts of stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy cool. I live up in the Northern Iowa area. The Northern Iowa area has a lot of cool stuff going on up here too, like the Regional Rock Hour, which is on 92 Rock. That's 92.1 up in Northern Iowa. Mason hosts the Regional Rock Hour, and he was a huge inspiration for me to do what I was doing. It was about the same time. He definitely started before I did with this, with what I call my podcast, and he has a radio show. He's got a whole radio station, crew of people backing him up. It's really kind of crazy to be able to have that loudspeaker there, just kind of talking to every single person in the area and saying, "Hey, this is the music we've got coming out from the area, and this is where we've got some of these people playing." And maybe you want to get to know these people, and we'll sit down and talk with them a little bit. And, Mason's been great about that. Not just bringing in bands from around the area, but bringing in bands that come to Fort Dodge to play shows from outside of the area. So you can kind of get to know the musicians coming into town and playing shows, and who's been there a handful of times, and finally get a chance to, talk to the people of the public. It's pretty cool. I've been on the show a handful of times. Let's see here. Oh man, let's see. Not only have I been on the show to talk about an upcoming Three Finger Betty show that was coming up, which is the punk band I'm in, but we also talked about a guitar I had made once for Iowa Central. I made a guitar for Iowa Central for the accounting club there, and what I did was I took a guitar, I stripped it all down, I repainted it, I put it back together, I threw some lights on it, and a decal for Iowa Central, and we raffled it off and made some money for Iowa Central's accounting program, which was really, really cool. Hats off to them. They worked wonders in my life as far as going back to school as an adult and learning a craft that can, at least take me some places. It's really kind of neat. So I just wanted to be able to give back in some fashion to feel good about the amount of knowledge that I gained while I was there from the great people that taught me. So I made a guitar for them and donated it, and they raffled it off and made buco bucks, and shout out to them. Regional Rock Hour, like I said, they helped me promote the fact that I was donating a guitar to a college that literally they have almost nothing to do with. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So the people over there, some of the kindest people around. If you're ever going to play a show in northern Iowa somewhere, especially if you're playing in the Fort Dodge area, hit up Mason at the Regional Rock Hour and say, hey, we're coming to town. Is there any way I can do a phone-in interview, quick 5 minutes, just to say, hey, we're coming to your town. It's going to be cool. Not only that, but like, let's say you don't want to do an interview. Not everybody likes to do interviews, I guess, as I've found out. But not everybody wants to do an interview. Maybe instead of an interview, you say, my band recorded some stuff. Here it is. You can catch us in, the Ottumwa area or something. He'll probably spin it. I've heard him playing stuff all across Iowa, and not just that. Some smaller bands that have come into Iowa, from the Wisconsin area and farther away, and it's really cool. He's got a great thing going on there, so if you want to hear some awesome new music, go there, check it out. It's tons of fun. It's 92 Rock, 92.1 in northern Iowa. It's called the Regional Rock Hour. Like I said, I've got a link for that down below on my website, audiblefarm.com, so you can check it out there. Oh, let's see, Fridays, I believe it's on Fridays, 6 maybe. Don't quote me, it might be on at 5. I think it's on at 5 on Fridays. I guess I could look since I'm the one that's running the show, right? All right, now let's go ahead and look then. I clicked the link on the bottom. It's taking me to the Facebook page because that's how you do it. Friday nights at 5 and 11. There's a rerun at 11. That's right, because I almost always had to catch the rerun because I would be out of town on Friday nights by 5. So shout out to Mason. Love it. I love the show you guys got going there. As far as I know, it's not available as a podcast, but their website is much easier to traverse now than it ever has been. So check out the website there. You can find it by going to audiblefarm.com, going down to the bottom, and you can find a link to their Facebook, which I'm sure will take you everywhere you need to go. So check that out. It's really cool. Otherwise, here's another really neat one for everybody, is the Indie Music Room. It's a show it's an interview show, much like what I have going on here. Heather Kelly is the host of the show. I've interviewed her on Audible Farm before, and she runs the show as far as being the host and taking care of all of the interview aspects of it. And it's really kind of neat. She's got, her show is hosted on an internet radio station called Fort Dodge Radio. And that's really cool. If you go to the audiblefarm.com, scroll down to the bottom, click on Indie Music Room with Heather Kelly, it will take you straight to Fort Dodge Radio's website. And right up at the top, it says, listen now. What's cool about that is they've got radio going 24/7. It's internet radio. They don't have to stop. Yeah, it's really cool. They've got a YouTube channel. You can go anywhere you want and find Indie Music Room, thanks to the Fort Dodge radio station, because FortDodgeRadio.com is what I should say. It's not a radio station; it's an internet radio station. But thanks to them, they've done a great job of distributing Heather's podcast. It gets tons of listens. She's doing pretty much the same thing I'm doing, except she's throwing music from the artists in the show as she's interviewing them. So she'll talk to somebody. Oh, well, did you play in a band back in the day? Yeah, I played in this band. Okay, it was really cool. We played this kind of music. It's like, oh, did you bring any of that? Yep, we sure did. All right, let's load it up next. And you get to hear what the person's music sounded like from the band they're talking about, in the interview. It's really kind of neat. It's worth checking out. Highly suggest everybody going down there and checking that out. Indie Music Room with Heather Kelly. It's an awesome podcast. Not just a podcast. It's available on an internet radio station as well. FortDodgeRadio.com. So check that out. All these, like I said, I've said it before, I'll say it a million times over. All these links, if you go to audiblefarm.com and just scroll to the bottom, they're all there. Maybe you can contact Heather or Mason and get on the show. Maybe you're in the Iowa City area and you're just like, hey, I want to try this I Hear I See thing out. Go to one of their shows when they have another show and hit up Justin and see what he's got going on. Maybe he'll put you on the show. You never know. Could be really cool. So check it out. It's well worth it. Hey, while we're on the topic of internet radio stations, let's also give a huge shout out to Code Zero Radio. That's correct, Code Zero Radio. I got a link on audiblefarm.com for that as well. Go figure. But you can check it out, live.codezeroradio.com. You can just go there and they've got their own app and everything. It's really neat. So check that out. Bob Minter has a show on there. He's kind of, running the show over there a little bit. As far as I know, it's a really cool thing. Bob not only hosts a show, but he plays music from bands that a lot of them are bands that he's seen, but even then, some of them are bands that he hasn't seen. So he's played Three Finger Betty stuff before, as well as other bands that are local to his area, and mixed them in with some amazing, amazing bands from across the U.S. and even farther away. I've sat down with Bob once on the Audible Farm podcast and talked to him. You can go back in time somehow and check that episode out. It's really neat. I mean, Bob's a great guy. He's one of the funnier guys on the internet. He's always looking to have a laugh. Like I said, I just kind of hit him up and was like, hey, you're looking for new stuff. Here's some Three Finger Betty stuff. Find a song you like, throw it on there if you like. Not going to hate you if you don't. And he pitches it in there in the cycle sometimes. So it's really, really cool to know these people that have internet radio stations that are willing to play some local stuff. And Bob and everybody over at Code Zero Radio is more than willing to do that. So if you want to check it out, Code Zero Radio is new rock. It's new radio. WCZR on the dial. It's not on a dial. It's on the internet. CodeZeroRadio.com. Check it out, everybody. It's well worth checking out. And if you want to, hear what Bob's got to say, go listen to that podcast I did with Bob, or tune into a show. He's super entertaining. Imagine what you would do if you got to listen to a radio DJ that didn't have to listen to a boss looming over his shoulder 24/7 saying, no, you got to do this and stuff. And that's Bob. Bob's just kind of out there just enjoying life, man. It's one of the funner things to sit and listen to Bob talk. Maybe not even on my podcast. Like I said, on his own show, he's super entertaining. He's dynamite. It's well worth checking out. Code Zero Radio. Check it out. It's on the internet. CodeZeroRadio.com, or you can listen to it live at live.CodeZeroRadio.com. Hey, there is actually some other podcasts and radio shows that have sprouted over the last year as far as around the Iowa area, talking with bands and things of that nature. Let's talk about one of these that's kind of come out and been one of my favorites as of late. Has been Brutal Breakdown. Brutal Breakdown is out of the Ottumwa area. And I've interviewed a few people from the Ottumwa area. As far as a couple of the guys from TV Cop, Good Devils. You can scroll back and listen to some of mine, or head over to Brutal Breakdown and listen to what they got going on. I got a link to their Facebook page, which has links to all their newest websites and everything. Check it out. Brutal Breakdown just launched. They're doing a lot of the same thing we're kind of doing here, just talking to musicians about all sorts of things, crazy stories, different shows they've played, the influence they've had on the area. I mean, you name it. They got all sorts of cool stuff going on there. All sorts of pictures and videos and highlight reels and you name it. I mean, they got all sorts of cool stuff going on. So check it out. It's over at Brutal Breakdown. I got a link to their Facebook page at the bottom of audiblefarm.com. Another one would be Beers with Bands. Now, I'll tell you what. This is it's a great concept. Beers with bands. You get to sit down and have a couple beers with the bands and just bullshit with them and talk to them. And that's what's going on over at Beers with Bands. It's a little less consistent than Brutal Breakdown, but that also is kind of what leads to the fun of Beers with Bands. You don't know when the next episode's coming out, so subscribe and check it out. It's over at Facebook. I've got a link to that one at the bottom. Once again, that one's kind of in the eastern to southeastern Iowa area, maybe based out of the Ottumwa-ish area. I'm not 100% sure where that's based out of, but I have touched base with the people that are running the show over there, and I can assure you it's some cool folks. So check out that show. Subscribe to it wherever you're subscribed to this podcast. It's available there. I almost guarantee it. Another podcast that kind of came out not terribly long ago was In the Bird Room with Jordan Mayland. The Des Moines Music Coalition has a podcast, and this is what it's called. It's In the Bird Room with Jordan Mayland, and it's really neat. Jordan sits down and talks to people around the Des Moines area, not just bands like I'm talking to. I mean, he talks to everybody about anything. People that are just playing acoustic guitars, people that are recording music, people that are doing electric stuff. You name it. He's sitting down talking with every single kind of person you can imagine. All the episodes are available, well, pretty much anywhere. As far as I know. I mean, I got it on my Apple Podcast app. At any rate, though, there is at the bottom of audiblefarm.com, there is a link that you can follow that will take you right to their website, and you can listen to it right from the Des Moines Music Coalition website there. So check that out. It's really cool. It's a great podcast. And the best part about all these podcasts is none of us are really, for the most part, overlapping musicians that much. I think Heather Kelly and I might have overlapped somebody once. I think that Beers with Bands and I might have overlapped with each other on one occasion. There might even be an opportunity that Brutal Breakdown and I will possibly overlap at some point or another. But the best part about that is the fact that all of our interview styles are different. All of the way that we go about conducting the interviews and you know, like it's run by different people. It's the whole thing is just different. So everybody's got their own vibe going into each one of these shows. So it's totally worth checking out. I mean, even the Regional Rock Hour, I've interviewed a lot of people that have been on the Regional Rock Hour, and what you hear from them there and what you hear from them here on my podcast are going to be two completely different things. So I highly suggest you check out both when they're on there, because you're going to get a different look at every kind of person depending on where you're at. I don't know too much about these last two, but I have contacted both of them with varying success. I do know that Midwest Review used to do shows. I'm not 100% sure they're still running shows right now, but I think they are. So it might be worth checking out. They're checking out music all the way from like Ohio to North Dakota. So I mean, check it out. I got a link down below to it. We've contacted with each other a couple times here and there, and I do know they used to run a radio show, which I think it was on. It says Sunday 4 to 6 p.m. and so that might be something worth checking it out. They might be there streaming on the internet now. I do know they used to have some crazy cool videos and pictures and all sorts of awesome stuff going on from people from, like I said, all across the Midwest. So that might be worth checking out if you are looking to expand your reach a little bit. Otherwise, the last one that I've come in contact with, and the toughest part about this one is I haven't been able to contact them with the highest level of success, but it's Iowa Basement Tapes. I'm fairly certain they're running on a radio station. From what I can tell, it's like 9 to 10 and on 89.9 KFMG. So yeah, that's out of the Des Moines area somewhere. They feature music from Des Moines, Davenport, Iowa City, all around, the Iowa-ish area. So check them out. That's another great podcast that's going on. Well, I guess I shouldn't say podcast. It's a radio show, but it's also available as a podcast on anywhere you listen to podcasts. So it's well worth checking out on both places. Like I said, all of us are doing things differently. Some of us rely more on playing music. Some of us rely more on just sitting down and talking with people. Other ones are intermittent of both and things like that. So I don't know. That's kind of what I got for you. As of recently, I've sat down and I've contacted some of these people, and we've kind of they've agreed to let me put their website links down below, and the only one would be Iowa Basement Tapes. I got a hold of them from a personal account, but when I tried to contact them with the Audible Farm account, they didn't respond. So check them out anyways. I mean, all these are literally just nothing more than tools for the musicians to use to do the things they want to do. And while you're polishing these things up, I do want to say that, like having a decent social media presence and just being able to function well enough to run a Facebook and an Instagram, Twitter, maybe even like now a TikTok, I guess, since everyone's doing TikTok nowadays. But maybe I'll just get one and see what it's all about. Maybe I'll have to, because that's what it's really all about. It's just figuring it out and just diving in and doing it. And there's so many people that are scared to, I don't want to do a Facebook page. I don't know how to run it. And I'm new and I'm scared and all this other stuff. But you know what? I didn't know how to run a podcast when I first started one. And I figured it out. You need more proof? Go back and listen to some of the first 10 episodes. I'm hem-hawing and talking to people about nonsense, and it has nothing to do with anything that I talked about previously. I don't know how to flow a conversation, and nowadays you can't get me to be quiet long enough to listen to what the guests are saying. So, hey, I'll tell you what. If you like this episode, give it a like, give it a share. Say, hey, there's some great resources out there for musicians. And if you like any of these new resources, say, hey, I found you because Audible Farm sent me your way. So I just want to say thanks to all of these different radio shows, podcasts, music and art resources and networking sites and groups and things like that. If anybody else wants to throw their name in the hat on the list, if anybody's knows of one that I forgot that would be really cool, that would mix well with us, hit me up. I will put it on there. I just want everyone to have all these tools available to them. So if you want to go across to Iowa and start booking shows for the summer because you can't book any right now, go for it. These are great places to start. Great people to hit up. Maybe you can talk to them. Maybe they'll put out a bonus episode. You never know. So hit them up. If you got anybody else that, want their name on the list, hit me up and let me know and put us in contact with one another. Word of mouth is great. Works great not just for the podcast, but for all the bands. So if you found a band recently you liked listening to where you said, hey, I saw these guys live last Saturday night. They went live and I tipped them $5 in their Venmo. They were really good. Recommend it to somebody else. I'm sure that video is still out there. Share it again. Share it to somebody else. I've also been really it's cool to see people's home studios where it's I got a 90-inch TV with, subwoofers and it's 1,000 watts and it's geez, this is cool. You guys are listening to Chris Carr Band in style right now or whatever. It's that kind of stuff is really cool to see as well. So it's really kind of neat to see what's come of this. And like I said on a previous podcast, I'm excited to see what comes later. So you guys keep working hard, keep doing all the cool things you're doing. If you're looking to book shows, maybe hit up some of these people from around the state. They might know some people that know some people. So there you go. This is what I got. Appreciate you guys listening to this short little bonus episode. I guess an episode wouldn't be complete without an outro. Huge shout out to everybody that's listening. I just want to say once again, it's super cool that everybody's doing all this really creative stuff, going live, setting up Venmo accounts, getting tipped through the internet for playing shows. I've seen people, set up their houses and all sorts of things with lights and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I really appreciate it. I mean, I remember even seeing the Eleanors put their camera on an oscillating fan so it would span the whole room and they wouldn't have to do anything and hire a camera person. That's cool. I mean, like I said, all the ingenuity that's coming out here, it's really neat. I really appreciate everything that's going on. I wish I had more time to dedicate to just kicking back and enjoying what you guys are doing. Unfortunately, school doesn't stop, so online classes, here we come. I really appreciate you guys listening to this bonus episode halfway through the week. Hopefully it boosts your spirits. I didn't really plan on this, and I just kind of was let's put one out. So here we go. This was the bonus episode. It's only 31 minutes long or some such, but once again, I appreciate you guys listening, tuning in every week. I hope you guys found some cool places to network with. Hit up the DJs, hit up the podcast hosts, hit up the radio show hosts, hit up everybody, hit up the networking sites. You never know what somebody's going to be able to offer you as far as the ability to network or just meet some new people just by contacting them. And now might be a great time while everyone's kind of holed up in their houses. No excuses, they're going to have to answer because they're sitting there right by their phone and it's going ding, ding, ding. No, I don't know, but hit them up. A lot of people hit me up and I throw them on the podcast because after I talked to them a little bit, I realized they're really cool people. And you know what? Everybody's actually been pretty cool and supportive because, the music scene is one of those things it's weird because it's competitive, but it's also not competitive because everyone really just wants to enjoy doing what they're doing. I can tell you first and foremost that it's really awesome to be booked on a show and to play in front of a really big crowd, but it's also really cool to be able to just attend a show that one of your friends are playing at and enjoy the big crowd and not have to do any of the work like playing. It's always some kind of a joke. I was these guys are working right now. Check them out. Can't believe that. I don't have to work. I'm just standing here. But they're all at work. This whole band's at work. They're working right now. It's just kind of a fun joke, but nobody's working now. So check out everybody's live streams. Share the live streams to places you think are relevant. We've got the Audible Farm Facebook group, so check that out. Share your live covers. Share anything you want there. As far as I'm concerned, if you got anything to offer anybody in the music or entertainment industry at all, just share it there. I'm not going to discount anybody for sharing something there too glad-handedly, because I do my fair share of sharing things there. As a matter of fact, I don't share too much stuff from my personal page anyway, so if you want to see stuff that I'm sharing, check it out there. That's usually where it's at. Otherwise, go to audiblefarm.com, scroll to the bottom, find all of our cool partners, the podcast, the radio shows, everybody that's doing all the cool stuff that we're doing just all across the state. Everybody's got their own original voice that they're, making their own unique shows, and everything is very unique to the individuals and the places that run them. So I appreciate every single one of you guys allowing me to throw a link to your stuff on my website and check them out. We've got some great people that we've come into contact with, and we're building a pretty awesome network of people that are really supportive, honestly, really supportive of new music, of music, of days of old, and I mean, you name it. There's all sorts of crazy cool stuff going on out there. And like I said, now might be the great time to network. So I appreciate everybody listening. I do have one last thing to say before I take off. I ordered some new Audible Farm shirts. That's right. I'm going to have sizes from small up to like 4XL. So hit me up. They'll be available, I'm assuming, in a couple of weeks here. I'm not really looking forward to traveling if I don't have to. So I'm just going to leave them where they were made, and I'll pick them up later. And I appreciate it. We almost completely sold out of the first order of shirts I had, and it didn't take very long. It only took a while for the last handful to sell. So I really appreciate it. I had a lot of people say you need bigger sizes, so I got bigger sizes. But I do want to say that I didn't get very many. So when you see the post that says shirts are available, hit me up. You might want to jump on it while I've got one in your size, because I didn't order too terribly many. I'm kind of nervous, because like I said, they went like gangbusters when I first had them and then slowed down. So I'm just kind of ordering bit by bit here as we go. So check that out. It's going to be available here sometime soonish. As usual, check out audiblefarm.com. You can find the links to everything Audible Farm, as well as listen to the website there. And now there's a cool partner section at the bottom that has the links to all sorts of crazy cool stuff going on around the state. So check it out. Appreciate you guys listening. And hey, I'll see you guys later in the week for a full episode with an actual guest. So it's not just me rambling. Appreciate it. We'll check you later.